Welcome once again to the DRH show. Today I'm joined by a movement therapist specializing in creating and guiding ageless movement practices, Michelle Andrie. Thanks for joining me today.
Oh, it's such an honor to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you here, Michelle. And could you just tell us about your background, your trajectory in life, and how you ended up doing what you're doing? It's an exciting job description, being a
Yeah.
movement therapist. So tell us more about it.
Yes. So I started out in the yoga world and loved it. It helped me tremendously, just feeling. So I felt good. I was in a really tight body, but I got an injury and in my low back, and it sent me on a whole new pathway to really use movement and yoga and myofascial release to heal the body. And so I first had to heal myself, and I had to figure all that out, which I did. And then I began helping others heal in that way. And when I actually hurt myself, I was working in a hospital as a yoga teacher and became a yoga therapist because of what I found. And basically, I thought I made up the term, but there's 7,000 of us worldwide. And we really just work on people who have injuries or physical challenges and diseases that need extra help. And my focus is really on low back pain. I'm an expert at that, helping people heal from it because of my own. Yeah.
You had your own journey. Now there's 7,000 of you, so I would imagine there's a lot of people needing help in that area. So if you could just elaborate on the prevalence of low back pain, I would imagine you have some statistics with that, and also
Yes.
what would be the contributing factors. I would imagine there's also an element of lifestyle because the way we work has significantly changed a lot, primarily
Right.
prompted by the pandemic, the lockdown.
Yes. 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 There's all people experience, the number of people that experience low back pain is between 75 and 85%, which is huge, right? That's like at least 3/4 of us. And a lot of it has to do with the way we posture ourselves. And so most of us, well, we're just not really taught on how I like to call it the body temple, is meant to be structured to work. And so we don't even think about it. And we come out of learning to walk and stand and sit from our family systems, watching the other people around us. And then we're in these bodies that are in a posture that is less than healthy. And then those postures kind of create like a kink, like in a water hose. And wherever we're kinked up or blocked, we'll either get injuries or gather diseases, or that it'll become painful. That's where we carry tension, that kind of thing. And so those blockages are what we need to undo to feel better. And we have to go way back into our family systems a lot to undo not only the posture itself, but then the underlying reasons, because we're a one body, like the emotional, mental reasons that we end up in those postures.
So, Michelle, aside from those blockages that you mentioned and also posture, are there any specific lifestyle factors or even habits that increase the risk of experiencing low back pain? Like I myself, because I work remote
Yeah.
online, primarily
Yeah.
online. So I just sit all day. I would imagine that people with a lifestyle like mine would have been in an increased risk. So are there any other people with me in the same category would be experiencing pain?
Yes. So anything that you do
Hmm.
for too long, like sitting a long time or even standing a long time in these postures that are not really allowing your energy to flow and be free, it's going to exasperate the challenge. So as beings, we really should be like, if you're sitting a lot, be standing up like every hour and moving around, not just sit and, for hours and hours and hours. And also, if we're standing, we should sit down, just movement. We should have movement in between, being stationary. And stationary is never good. That's the thing. And the longer you're stationary in these postures that hurt you, the more you're going to hurt. And then, of course, we're on our computers and we're on our cell phones, and we're, bent over, and our necks are forward of our bodies. And when that happens, then our lower back becomes core and has to try to hang on to that big head and the shoulders and the upper back that's forward. And that creates so much neck, upper back, and lower back pain and problems. Yeah.
As you were telling me those things that I should be doing, I feel like kind of self-conscious that like, am I hunching too much right now? But
Right.
it's funny, it's psychological. But
Yeah.
regarding treatment options for low back pain, Michelle, are there any differences between men and women? Because science says that physiologically we're different.
Yes, women actually experience a higher percentage of low back pain than men. And a lot of it has to do with hormones. So with women, like when we have our menstrual cycles, then there's a lot of swelling in the area of the low back and the belly. And that swelling can cause a lot of pain. Also, we give birth, and the birth process can cause problems and pain because to give birth, we have this hormone kicks in called relaxin, and it pulls our pelvic bowl out of alignment. And when, to widen it to give birth, and oftentimes it doesn't go back in the right place. And that causes SI joint problems. And so when an SI joint isn't stable, and that's the two joints on the edge of the sacrum, when it's not stable, that causes the whole low back to be unstable, because the sacrum itself is the foundation of the entire body and spine. So yeah, women have a lot more low back pain than men. I think the percentage is like maybe 10 to 15% more back pain.
Interesting. So, Michelle, in the prevention and alleviation of low back pain in women, how significant is the role of posture and body mechanics? Because you talk about hormones earlier.
Yeah, hormones. And then there's, the posture too, for all of us. That's just a thing, like bad or, posture that basically what I see, and the posture that creates low back pain is it's called sway back. The low back has a deeper curve than it needs to be, and the buttock sticks out in the back. And women tend to have this, again, more than men as well. But on top of that, we like carry babies like in our bodies. And then also once the baby's born, we carry them around a lot. And then they're like in our upper body, and we stick our butt out to balance that out. And then we lose our core. And so a lot of low back sufferers, I would say 99% of the people that I work with, they need to build core strength. But first they have to reposture, or you're going to be building core strength still using your low back, which is not your core. And so I see this in women a lot, but I also see it in men.
So it's really important that you have to be aware about postures. You said earlier, being stationary is not really good for your back pain or for your overall health for that sense. Now, regardless of your gender, are there any common challenges that people face when seeking treatment for low back pain, and what steps can they take to overcome them?
Yeah. So it's like our medical system these days doesn't really understand how to help us out. So like just taking me, for example, I was working in a hospital and the PTs and the orthopedic surgeons were my peers, and they are great, but I didn't get help. In fact, my back pain got worse doing PT, and I hear that story a lot. And the orthopedic surgeon, of course, recommended surgery, which I didn't want. And I'm so glad I didn't do, because surgery for low back pain only has a 50% success rate. And then what I find with my clients, even those that get relief, it only lasts about, on average, about 3 years. And then whatever disc they got fixed blows, the one above or the one below begins to go. And so there's not really that many successful options out there in our current medical system. And then, of course, if you just get on pain pills or injections, that's just masking it. It's not taking care of the problem. And the real problem is that you need to learn to reposture your body by doing myofascial release, because it's the fascia that's holding the muscle in a place where it can't move, it can't open and close like it's supposed to. And they found there's brain cells in the fascia, so it's the fascia that makes the body-brain connection. And so you have to release the fascia first, then stretch those tight muscles. And muscles move bone, so once that the muscle releases, and maybe it's pulling on the spine, once it releases, it can let the spine or the vertebrae or the sacrum or whatever it's pulling on fall back into place. And then you strengthen your core. And that combination can help release low back pain. In fact, with my clients, I have a 96% success rate. And, they're just so pleased that they can get back and live normal lives again after being in so much pain.
Absolutely, that's an incredible success rate, 96%. Now, of course, there's a lot of information to digest about back pain, and so you wrote a book in relation to this, "Heal Thy Low Back," and I think it's a play on word. And the first time I saw it, I was wondering whether to read it as "Healthy Low Back," but I think it's very clever how you decided to call your book. So can you tell us more about this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, the reason I wrote it is I wanted more people to know about it and to get help, right? Because I hear that all the time with my clients. It's like, I've been everywhere. I've tried everything from surgery to injections to pills to acupuncture to chiropractic, and I'm still in pain. And when I work with my clients, it's like the first time that anyone's really stepped back and looked at them and looked at their posture and then talked to them about them as a whole. So, what does it mean when you have a tight, I'm just going to demonstrate, iliopsoas muscle, and it's pulling right here. And it's the muscle that sticks your butt out and shoves your sacrum up into your low back. And that muscle's the fear muscle. So when you work this way, you're releasing fear as you open the muscle that's causing the back pain. And, in our current medical establishment, you're not an emotional being to them. I'm sure there's some, but as majority, you're just a physical being, but you have to work on yourself as a whole. And you really have to know, like, when I'm working here, I'm releasing fear. When I'm working here in the piriformis or the glutes, I'm releasing control. Or when I'm working in my inner legs, I'm releasing anger. And the whole low back area is where we hang on to stress. And you have to know these things and keep yourself as a whole being to resolve that. And that's why I wrote the book. So people would really understand who they are as a whole and how to work on themselves, not just as a physical being, but as an emotional and mental being as well.
Now, I'd just like to pick up on that point that you've
Mhm.
alluded to, Michelle. So
Yeah.
you said that, that that the medical establishments do not necessarily address the emotional aspect or mental aspects associated with low back pain. So how did you address that in your book?
Well, I give them an overall kind of broad
Mm-hmm.
view of, you know, what it is to be a whole being. So they have this understanding. And then I take it down into low back pain, because the major causes of low back pain underneath, I call them the underlying causes, are anger, held anger, the desire to control or want things to be different in your life, fear, and stress. So then I take them through explaining that and what muscles are the fear muscles, which muscles are the control muscles, which muscles are the stress muscles, and then the anger muscles, and then how to release those muscles. I teach them to breathe in a way and to visualize that they're releasing the anger, the held anger, the desire to control, the fear, the stress, wherever they happen to be working. And it was really by working in this way that I released my back pain. And then I've taught thousands of people to do this. And I hear a lot too from my students that it's the only way that they could release back pain is working on themselves as a whole being, instead of being sectioned off just to be a physical body and take it to the doctor, or a mental body and go to the therapist, or a spiritual body to go to church. They've kept themselves as a whole being, and it really works miracles. And I just wanted everyone to know about it.
So, Michelle, what are your hopes for readers to who buy your book, and how do you believe it will positively impact their lives? And of course, where can they get a copy of this?
Yeah, well, what I hope for my readers is that it expands their consciousness a bit, and they start to, you
Mhm.
know, understand things at a deeper level within themselves as a whole being. Because we're not really taught that in our societies. Everything's segmented off. And so that's my first objective with the book, is to get people to think of themselves in a little different way. And then from that thought, that they are a whole being, that then they can start to work on themselves in that way. And I give basic practices and ways to work on the body as a whole, so that as they're working on their physical body, they're working on their brain, they're creating new neuropathic pathways in their brain. So, you know, they're changing as a whole, because that's the only way that's going to work. And then, so when they're, doing the exercises and stuff, and they're starting to see some changes, they keep going, because here's the deal. This will give you practices and, open your mind to new ways of treating yourself, but you have to do it. You can't just read the book and get better. And the thing I found is that you have to do a daily practice with this being. It has to be taken to a daily practice every day. And we have to go onto our mats. We have to breathe. We have to move in certain ways that our body wants us to release, the pains, the tensions, the emotions that are trapped in there. And I um, hope that people learn that through this book, and start to really set aside time every day to take care of their body, so that they can heal and feel better, because we all have the power to heal. We're just not taught how to use it.
Uh, Absolutely. Now, Michelle, let's just talk more about yoga therapy and
Mm-hmm.
movement practices, because
Yeah.
I'm sure many people may not be aware of the mental and emotional aspects of yoga therapy. I myself included, I'm not aware of those aspects. But can you explain how ageless movement practices can help calm the mind and also soothe the soul?
Absolutely. So when you learn, and I'll just go back to the fear muscle. So this is the fear muscle in the body. It's called the iliopsoas. The quads are a part of it, and then the psoas is the same muscle as the iliopsoas. It just has two different functions, and all mammals have it. And so when we get into fear, this set of muscles does this to protect our soft underbelly. Our chest is pulled down to protect the belly, and our knees come up to protect the soft underbelly. When you're conscious of this, something shifts. Like just being conscious that these are my fear muscles. And when I'm rolling a ball in my quads, my iliopsoas or my psoas, and breathing out fear, and I always say, and breathe in love, and you're aware of what you're doing, things begin to change. You don't even really need to understand why you're creating or carrying that amount of fear or what caused it. You just go in there and you consciously breathe out the fear and breathe in love. And then after you're finished with the myofascial release ball work, you stretch it. Same thing. You're breathing out fear, you're breathing in love, and these muscles are opening, and you're changing your brain pathways. And then when you're done with your practice and you stand up, these muscles aren't as gripped. And instead of being here, you're more here, more upright, and you feel better. And it's like a miracle, really, right?
Absolutely. Now, Michelle, your work has enabled your clients to achieve remarkable results, and they improve their energy, they improve their posture, and even reducing their medications. But could you share to us some of the most rewarding or transformational stories you've encountered throughout your career?
Oh, sure. I love that. Thank you for asking me. Well, I do a group Zoom call with the people that I work with. And I just was online with one of my students that had such a great success story. Her name is Sue, and she lives in Indiana. And she came to me because she couldn't stand, nor could she walk very far, because she was diagnosed with stenosis, which is a narrowing of the nerve pathway in the spine. And a lot of people with a diagnosis of stenosis have trouble standing for long periods of time and walking. She couldn't even work. And now she can stand, cook dinner for her family, no pain. She can walk up hills, down hills. She does this pathway around this lake that they live on, no problems. And I mean, she's just in a new life. And I love that, because a lot of people with stenosis, they're told the only way to resolve it is surgery. And it's not true. You just have to take the pressure off of the spine that's causing the narrowing. Anyway, so she's one of my favorite stories. And I have many others. I have people with, severe sciatica, and they can't get rid of that tingly pain down their legs. And it's actually pretty easy to release. And you just have to know how to release it. And you're never too old either. Like, I have clients in their 80s who are getting relief. And they're like, they can't believe it, because they were basically just housebound. And I just think of one client of mine who, couldn't even really leave her house. And now she's out and about. And the thing is, she had to address some pretty challenging mental issues to get there, though. But she was able to do it through the work. And it's amazing to watch these transformations.
Well, thank you for sharing those inspirational stories, Michelle. And I'm sure a lot of people could also share the same thing with their experience about your practice
Yeah,
and the
my book
techniques
is
that you've mentioned.
full of testimonials.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned the importance of understanding the language of one's body. So could you just talk more about this concept and explain how individuals can better connect with and listen to their bodies?
Yes. So, we grew up in a time of in a patriarchal society that thinking was, we got smiley faces and stars for thinking, but we didn't get it for feelings. And so we had a lot of our sensory body taken away from us. And our sensory body is intelligent. It is guiding us all the time. It's our feelings, it's our intuition, it's our inner knowings. And we're just not taught to listen to this amazing system, which is really sad. And so when you begin to listen to your body and really understand sort of the energy pathways of the body, you can make such progress in healing. But also, well, I guess I'm going to say you can make such progress in healing by having a deep relationship with this amazing body temple that you live in. And most of us don't even have a relationship with our feelings, our senses. We don't talk to our bodies. We don't have a really deep connection with this, but we have one with this, and this is trying to guide this whole thing, and it cannot. This is 50% of our intelligence, and we just have lost it in the societies that we were born into.
Absolutely. It just made me realize that sometimes, I suppose, without sounding cliche, that the symptoms that you're experiencing is your body's way of, communicating to you that, you're too stationary or you're not eating the right food. And you just have to listen to it, because sometimes we're just too, worried about what we're going to do next or what we're going to, eat, or places that we need to go to, and we just have to stop and listen. And I think that's a lovely message, and I would imagine you would talk more about that in your book, Michelle. But let's talk more about on something more personal, because when I did my research, I understand that you've successfully owned 3 yoga therapy studios, a retreat center, and you even have a yoga therapy teaching training school. So what were some of the challenges you face in setting up and running these ventures, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah. Yes. So I have done a
Mm,
lot with my business over the last
mm,
33 years, and I've owned yoga therapy studios, which was great. And I loved it. I loved every moment of it, but it was a lot of like one client after another, after another, after another. And so then I had a dream that I wanted to open a yoga therapy retreat center in Hawaii, which I did. I made it happen. And then I realized, wow, that's a lot of work, because now I'm housing and feeding and seeing clients and doing workshops. And so I then just took my business online before actually the pandemic. And and I wasn't sure if it would translate online like it did in person, but it does. And I'm just reaching more and more people this way, and it's amazing. And I just keep morphing. I've always done retreats, but I'm doing more retreats now too, getting back out in person, but doing it in retreat venues. And my whole mission really is just to spread the word that people can heal themselves. They just have to know how. And that has been in the forefront all the time for me. So like setting up these businesses, because I think I did it from my passion to help people heal. And any snag that I met, I just kept going, like kind of like a bull, and just kept pushing through, and made every venture that I have encountered so far work. But it's consistency. I've had this passion, to help people heal for 30 some years, and had my businesses doing it for that long. So it's just staying focused and being consistent and trying new things too, like at the same time learning new, like we are right now, the venues that we're working on. So I never stop learning also, and just being excited every day to share my passion with people that you for sure can heal yourself, and especially with low back pain, I can really help you.
Absolutely. I suppose as it is with your body and your business, you have to be flexible in order to,
Exactly.
yeah, full
You're
of
so good.
flexibility. Now, you mentioned about Hawaii. Of course, Hawaii is known for its stunning landscapes and serene environment. So, how does the location of Hawaii contribute to or influence your practices in and teachings as a yoga therapist?
Well, I'm telling you, this place, I live on the big island of Hawaii. And if you know anything, that's where we have this active volcano that likes to do things to us. And also, we have hurricanes and all that kind of stuff going on. And so, when I first moved here, I moved to the other side of the island, and I went through 3 lava flows that directly affected my life, and then 2 hurricanes, and multiple earthquakes because of the lava flows. And it actually ended up with environmental PTSD. So, we look at this beautiful place, but the place that I chose to live is very tumultuous. And it just taught me a lot. It taught me how to, go with the flow. It helped. It gave me trauma so that I could learn how to release it. I mean, it's not like I didn't have trauma before that, but another experience of that, and how to, like, if that isn't working, how to, shift and make the changes, because this island is always shifting, always changing. There's always something going on here in this incredible beauty. And then I end most evenings, watching the sunset in the Pacific Ocean and going, oh my God, I am like the luckiest person alive. So I feel the calming effects of the beauty too, but it is not just that. It's a lot. This island has taught me so much.
Yeah, it's a challenging environment to live with, but it's this is an interesting conversation. But I'd like to wrap this up with some light-hearted, quick-fire questions, Michelle.
Okay.
So the first thing is, what were you afraid of as a child?
Oh, good question. My mom was mentally ill.
Mhm.
So I grew up taking care of her, and I was afraid every moment. I was afraid
Mhm.
really basically for my life and for my siblings' life, because everything we talk about tumultuous and ever changing, we never knew what we were going to walk into. I never knew how my mom was going to be from one moment to the next. And I was the oldest girl, so I was protecting my 3 younger siblings at the same time from a very young age. And yeah, my dad wasn't around a lot at that time, so it was a lot for a young person. And I think that a lot of that tightness that ended up in my back pain came from having to carry so much as a child and live in that amount of fear.
I could imagine. Now, what is your favorite word in another language?
Oh, well, that's easy. Aloha.
Yeah. And of
Because,
course, yeah. And
yeah.
Michelle, if you weren't working with movement therapy, what would you have pursued in your life?
Well, my other passion, so I always say I like to help people heal, and I like to heal houses. Like, I like to fix up houses too. I have kind of stopped doing that though, because it's kind of hard on my body. But I was always, buying a house and trying to fix it up from a young adult. So I'd probably be just like, fixing up houses.
And finally, the floor is all yours. What should people take away from today's conversation, and what's
Hmm.
next for you?
Oh, thank you. Well, what I hope they take away is that they can heal themselves, and you just have to learn how.
mm,
And it's very simple and it's very easy. And this information is thousands of years old. It's not anything that's new. Like the ancient indigenous people knew, in every culture, knew a lot
mm,
of the stuff that I teach. I had to just learn it. And I did because I was desperate to get out of pain. And so anybody can do it. I've just done the legwork. So you don't have to go and do all the self-study that I did for, many, many, many years. Um, and then just believe that they can heal themselves. Like I can say it, I can show you what to do, but you've got to believe it. And if you're willing to go out and believe like a doctor that you just meet, but you're not believing yourself, really look at that and say, okay, what's really going on here? And my hope and my wish is that you form a relationship with yourself and really start to listen to this amazing body being first, and then guide yourself to heal from that place. Because I hear so many stories and people walk in and go, I didn't even really like that doctor, but I let him operate on me. And I'm like, oh, should have listened, right? And we don't. And to me, it's the way out of the pain, not only in our own being and body, but in our world, is just to start listening to the like a poem Mary Oliver says, to the soft animal body that we all have, instead of this or outside people telling us what they want us to do.
Yeah, that's a lovely message to finish off with, Michelle. And as you've said, we're not just, we're not just a physical entity. There's a mental component to us. There's an emotional component to us. So it's really important that we treat things holistically. And of course, you
Yes.
talk more about that in your book, which the link will be available on the description note for anyone who's watching or listening to
Awesome.
this. Well,
Awesome.
Michelle Andrie, author and movement therapist, and it's been a pleasure to have you here on the DRH show. I look forward to hearing more about your work.
Thank you so much. I've really appreciated. Bye.